Ho, 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 universe. Welcome to another episode of Zoobox Goes to the Movies, Christmas edition. It's December. Watching Christmas movies all month, hopefully. It all goes according to plan. Talking about Christmas films, wholesome movies, movies about giving and perspective and appreciating what you have and your family. I'm joined by Big Paul again this week. Hey, how's it going, Big Paul?
Hey, how you doing, Sean?
Yeah, we decided to take another break, another sojourn somewhere else from the Kubrick movies. And for some reason, when I thought of It's a Wonderful Life, I knew I wanted to talk about It's a Wonderful Life. And I was like, oh, Paul would be a great person to talk to about this movie for some reason.
Hmm.
You know? Just, I don't know why, you know?
Yeah.
Well, we're men of certain age. We're almost at the age of George Bailey.
No, these are all true things. They're all family men. All have gone through some traumatic life events and
All had
built.
big hopes, all had big dreams,
hmm All squashed. But
all squashed by a woman. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, no, what did you, was this a movie that you grew up with?
I would I'd throw it up there. It was definitely something you knew about growing up. Just like it's as much as Christmas as Bring Cosby or anything like that that comes out every year.
Yeah, for sure. It's got like it's the archetypal Christmas movie in terms of like cultural awareness. But I was thinking, I was like, I don't think I actually really like watched It's a Wonderful Life until I was older. Probably when I was like 18 or 19. It was probably the first time I actually like watched it. Like sat down and watched the movie from beginning to end. Because it's kind of like most Christmas movies. They're kind of on in the background while you're doing stuff with family or it's kind of rare, at least when I was growing up, it was rare to like just sit down and watch a Christmas movie. They might be on, but whether or not you're paying full attention to them is another story.
And that's a real shame. Because getting back to go revisit this too, and you just realize that this is actually like a real movie. It's talking about like real substance, real issues, and
Yes.
uh,
It is a
into it, yeah, and just watching it, you're just like, holy, this is some heavy shit. This is some heavy shit. It's not some hokey 1940s like Hallmark-esque like film. I mean, there's some hokey 1940s
yes.
stuff in it for sure. It's a movie of the times, but its subject matter, is timeless. It's part of the human condition. It's part of things people still struggle with, today. So it was very very interesting. My wife said the same thing. Like I don't think I ever watched it, straight through, like ever. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things you just have on the background, right? So
Well, it got kind of pulled back into the zeitgeist like maybe a month ago, a few weeks ago, because a lot of like film blogs and stuff like that, they're putting out Christmas movie lists and retrospectives and stuff, and some like dipshit millennial who had obviously never seen the movie before, and maybe he had watched it for the first time. He wrote this awful article, but the headline of the article was like, "It's a Wonderful Life may not be the Christmas romp you remember." I was like,
okay,
Christmas romp. I guess like but if I had never seen it before, this is what I mean. I don't think this person had ever seen it before. Because if I had never seen It's a Wonderful Life, all I would know is the picture from the end of the movie when he's like hugging his family and stuff,
right.
which kind of makes it look like this. It is a very heartwarming movie at the end of the day, but it's a journey to get there. It does not just give itself over to you in that way. Like you kind of have to earn. It earns that ending through a lot of adversity for the main character, Jimmy Stewart's character. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what put it back in my mind was when I read that, and I was like, oh, I guess maybe there's a whole generation of people who've never really seen It's a Wonderful Life. And then I started thinking about myself. I was like, well, I didn't really watch it till I was a little older too. So yeah.
Yeah, but, yeah. I don't really use romp too much in a sentence, so not not the holiday romp you remember.
Well, like what would be a holiday romp? Like Jingle All the Way? You remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
You put down those cookies. Put down those cookies. I can't do Arnold. No one can. Well, a lot of people can. I can't. But I
One
get.
of the most mean-spirited, awful Christmas movies, and we watch it every year at my house.
That.
But it is like literally the thesis of the movie is like this father cannot win the love of his son until he becomes the like material object of his desire. He literally has to become Turbo Man, the toy that his kids wants at the end of the movie for his son to respect him. It's a very odd movie. But anyways, before we start going, I was supposed to go to the store today and I couldn't get to the store because South Carolina has awful, awful laws when it comes to buying alcohol.
Just
They,
being in South
they,
Carolina with alcohol.
yeah, they close at 7. So in the spirit of the working man, this is all I had. Had some black box making its return.
Oh man. Well, it's okay because I am on my other bottle. Last time I talked to you, I picked another one up because I am a creature of habit with High West once again.
Which is an excellent, excellent rye. It's an excellent double rye, and I would recommend that to anybody. Even if you don't think you're into ryes, I would recommend that because it's a nice, smooth one.
It really is. It really is. One of these days, one of these Chapala days, we're going up to Utah. We're going up to Park City, Utah.
You should actually, yeah.
We're going to go to the distillery. We're going to get we'll get fancy. We'll get the campfire rye. We'll get the double rye, and we'll go through all the bourbons too, man. We'll do the whole spiel, and then we'll go down into Salt Lake City and we'll check out the temple.
Well, they have one that I want to try, but it's expensive. It's like 65 or $70. The Rendezvous Rye.
Yeah, man.
I
Yeah.
want to try that. I haven't tried that yet.
We'll get it popping. We'll get it popping.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe cross the Dixie line in the spring. So if that happens,
There you go.
I come bearing gifts. Sure.
It's Christmas anytime you see Paul. So
Well,
like
it's your holiday, but no.
So like we said, we're talking about 1946's It's a Wonderful Life. The film was directed by Frank Capra, written by Francis Goodrich, Albert Hack, and others. A bunch of people did work on this. Capra himself did work on this, the script. Dalton Trumbo, famous communist writer, did work on the script. It stars James Stewart, Donna Reed, Lionel Barrymore, Thomas Mitchell, Henry Travers, Balua Bondi, Frank Phelan, Ward Bond, Gloria Graham, H.B. Warner, and others. The logline plot synopsis is: an angel is sent from heaven to help a desperately frustrated businessman by showing him what life would have been like if he had never existed. Which is that undersells this film. It's based on a book by this guy, Philip Van Doren Stern. Not actually a book, I mean a short story called The Greatest Gift. And it basically, the short story is just the last third of the movie. That, and then everything else they made up. There's like a few, like almost, I would say 90% of It's a Wonderful Life is completely different. The short story, I actually listened to it this afternoon because it's like 20 minutes long. Yeah. And it just starts with him about to commit suicide. And then it kind of goes through that nightmare sequence, the Twilight Zone episode, I would call it, of the film. But it was a good short story. It was actually really well written. And he didn't really do anything else other than that. Apparently, he was a historian, mostly worked on Civil War history, and he's very well respected. So I didn't know that. Interesting history a little bit about the short story itself, The Greatest Gift. He could not get it published. Mm-hmm. So what he did was he printed 200 like Christmas cards with it in it and like just sent it around, and somehow it ends up in the hands of somebody at RKO Pictures, and the rest is history basically.
Yeah. Because RKO bought it for like 10 grand off him.
Yeah, I know. I was like, writers always getting fucked.
Yeah. They said the man RKO ended up selling it to Frank Capra for 10 grand as well, and then but there's over like 6 people that touched this as well.
Yeah, exactly. It was originally
Frank Capra, like a little bit coming into this. This guy was, and I don't want to bring it up because I was watching that Netflix series of the World War II.
So 5 came back.
5 came back. So
he's a big part of the war effort in the 40s, like making documentaries and stuff. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, but he actually served in World War I, and then filmed and made propaganda and documented World War II as well. And so he's coming into this, and so part of it, I think what really made the film adaptation, Wonderful Life, really interesting because he took a lot of personal stuff. And this guy's an Italian immigrant,
Hmm.
that's really prominent into the film where the families that are Italians that the build and loan is providing homes for,
Yeah, the
you know,
Martini, especially the Martinis. Yeah.
especially the Martinez family. It's all in there, like in Nick's. So there's a lot of personal things about that. Jimmy Stewart wasn't the first pick for this.
Yeah, originally, I think it was when it was at RKO, it was Cary Grant. They wanted Cary Grant to be the lead. It was kind of being developed for him because at the time, I mean, actually, Capra worked with Cary Grant a few times as well. What's it called? Something in Lace. Drawn up a blank. He had worked with both Jimmy Stewart and Cary Grant in the past. Arsenic and Lace. That's what it's called. Um, because Frank Capra was a big director. He was pretty popular. He was a populist filmmaker. He makes like feel good, kind of sentimental movies in a certain respect. I would say It's a Wonderful Life in a lot of ways is probably his darkest. Like the other one, if you watch, have you ever seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington?
Yep.
Yeah, and then he did Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, and then It's a Wonderful Life. Though seems like his crowning achievement. He's often said that it was his favorite of his movies, which I agree with, honestly.
Oh, I can see why too. Though he blew his budget off that. It was a flop when it came out, and then
Yeah, it's another.
like he never recovered, from it.
Well,
So
yeah, it's the first movie that he had ever like with his own money. He put up his own money to make this movie,
mhm.
and it was a joint venture with RKO because they use RKO's what do you call it, backlot, because that's
Yeah,
where they built Bedford Falls
both filmed in Los Angeles, and
during the summer and during a heat wave.
yeah, from April to July.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was reading a little bit of trivia, and they're like the scene where Jimmy Stewart's like rushing through Bedford Falls at night, and it's snowing. It's I think during the nightmare sequence, basically, it was like 90 degrees out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard apparently like the filming of the movie was not the most enjoyable experience because of how hot it was.
Yeah, he had to give the cast and crew like days off in between them to recover.
Yeah, and Capra apparently was a not like a son of a bitch, but he had problems with a lot of people. Like he fired the original cinematographer after like a month,
Yeah.
and then they went back and reshot stuff. Like he had the writers, the two main writers that are credited, Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett, have never saw the movie because they hated working with Frank Capra so much. Because apparently he was so demanding. He'd be like on the fly, like
Yeah.
talking, like he's like, "No, dude, we got to change everything. We're changing everything. I need it by tomorrow." Like that kind of guy.
Wild. That is wild. Yeah, but yeah, no, Jimmy Stewart wasn't the first pick, and this was his first film, his first acting job after World War II.
Hmm.
So, a little interesting thing about this, I wonder, like, because we're the Kubrick boys, so we look at everything, blah blah blah. But not everybody is Kubrick. But I wonder if he knew enough about Stewart's background to like really be adamant as he was. Because I mean, getting Jimmy Stewart at that time, post World War II movie, let's get a World War II hero in there.
Hmm.
Stewart, throughout the rest of his film career, he still stayed in like the Air Force Reserves. Like he retired
Yeah.
4 hours away from where you live now as a brigadier general. Runs
Oh
Jeff.
wow.
Yeah, he never got out. He stayed in the reserves as a pilot. But he grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, Indiana, Pennsylvania, very much like a Bellows Falls type of town. And then his father ran a hardware store, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
When he sent them out to when he went to Yale, the whole intent was for him to come back, and he had to kind of deal with. And no, I don't want to do this. He had a passion for aviation growing up, and then
I think that all. Yeah, I do think Frank Capra knew that
yeah,
because he had been friends with Jimmy Stewart. He knew Jimmy Stewart before that. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington with Jimmy Stewart was like 19.
that was before that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like 1938. It's right before the war because Jimmy Stewart, his star was on the rise. He was a big star.
Yeah.
And then one of the big surprising things was he volunteers to join the military during World War II.
Mm.
A lot of people point at him and then they call John Wayne kind of a pussy because John Wayne got out of it.
Yeah.
John Wayne did not want to go to war, and he stayed and he was a film star throughout the 40s, basically, and made his career. But yeah, Jimmy left, and apparently even Jimmy Stewart himself was very hesitant to didn't even know if he ever wanted to be an actor again because he was suffering from what I guess people now would call post-traumatic stress disorder. Like he saw action. Like he wasn't just some dude. He's very highly decorated in the war.
Yeah.
Do you think, I don't know, not to be too cynical, but do you think that's like a Hollywood manifestation?
Mhm.
Like in the same sense that like Capra and like Ford and all those guys are out there making these documentaries doing war propaganda during the 40s and World War II. Well, you have a big movie star. Do you think maybe he gets bumped up in terms of his accolades because they're like, this is a great thing to show like the success of the country and the war, and you know what I mean?
And well, no, because I did. I'm still digesting. I forgot that Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was prior to this too. So I mean, that definitely fed into it. But I do think Capra was really exploring with what we call PTSD now. And like
Mm-hmm.
depression themes in there, and I think uh, that he knew Stewart and whatnot. That I think a lot of the stuff that Stewart's greatest moments, like within the film, he didn't have to reach too far back to tap into that as well. And I think
Yeah.
he did that there. So
I mean, like, it's a haunting performance, even in the happy moments, because you know it's coming. Like, it's one of these stories about a genuinely good man who cannot catch a fucking break, but still, till the bitter end, persists and insists on doing the right thing.
hmm
Like, not to jump too far ahead, but like the reason why he's going to kill himself is because wants his family to have the insurance money.
yeah.
Like, I mean, like, and before that, he decides to take the fall for his uncle who lost the fucking money.
Hey, can we talk about like what a fuck up Uncle Billy is, man? Gee,
Uncle Billy, good old Thomas Mitchell, good actor.
great actor. No, great performance, man. But the character, man, like what a fuck up. Yeah, he had. So like one of the things that like I watched that, and like I was thinking, maybe it's kind of on the nose, like a little bit, but Uncle Billy, he had like weird pets in the building and loan office, right? And so one of them
Yeah,
was Raven, and we all know Ravens, like an omen, a symbolism for like an ill omen, something bad's going to happen in the future, and then that Ravens prominently within the screen, you know, right before um, George Bailey goes into the board and gets nominated that he's going to take over for his father's business, right?
yeah.
It's the first like ill like omen that like it's going to lead up to the detriment of his of his mental health. We'll call it now before
Well,
he's
it's like, yeah, it's like a diversion from his dreams. Now he knows that like he's locking himself in another path while rationalizing, being like, okay, well, I will do this for a couple years, then I'll be able to come back. But the Raven thing, like I think like in a meta sense that is definitely a good notice. I do know though that that's Frank Capra's bird, and he put him in every movie.
oh no shit really.
Yeah, well, why the bird was alive apparently.
Well, but yeah, the Raven was in right before that, where he gets the board, lets him know, like, hey, it's either you or the business goes to Mr. Potter.
All of the major scenes with the building alone, the bird is there. Like in the same thing when all the people want to come in when the banks are closed.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The bird's there as well. But I just thought that was great. Or even the other scene, like afterwards, when like he fucking lost $8,000, which I found out at that time
It's a lot of
today
money.
worth $140,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would have a salary of $20,000 a year from Mr. Potter that he offered him. In today's market, that'd be over close to $250,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Excuse me.
that's the magic of George Bailey. That's what I mean. He is a man who insists on doing the right thing. He insists on it, even though his entire life is being not. Well, that's the point of the movie, is that his entire life actually hasn't been destroyed. Like he is the richest man in town, as his brother says at the end of the movie.
So did
Because
Capra, did Capra have a pet squirrel too? They put in every movie.
I don't know.
You
I don't
don't
know.
know?
No, I
Okay.
don't know about that. The only thing I read about was the Raven.
You have working for you now. You're getting like no intel coming into this now, man. Jeez. No, like the other thing too, like I wanted to make a note about with Uncle Billy was that after the whole losing the 8 grand and stuff like that, he's like breaking down on his chair, and then the fucking squirrel because Uncle Billy, he's got a squirrel, pet squirrel too, because why not? Comes up and like crawls up like on Billy there. And squirrel, which you can make it like, well, squirrel, squirrely. He acts squirrely. Makes like little like ribbons on his notes. He forgot to go to his damn nephew's own wedding. Right? Remember when Stuart's like, "Hey, you can take this one off." Like,
Yeah.
the wedding was fine. He grabs his pig. You can take this one off now.
Yeah.
So like, but squirrels get nutty. And
Which is great, which is a great piece of character stuff that they do not draw attention to. I love that it's just kind of there, and then
mm-hmm.
you either know what it is or you didn't. I mean, maybe culturally at the time, it would have been something you would recognize more, but like in the current day, the first time I watched it, like I will watch it recently, I was like, what is he talking about?
No.
And then I was like, oh, he's got a string, so he remembers. Different color strings. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, man.
Well, then that's it. But I think Capra, though, honestly,
Like, and freaky because in the alternate universe where George Bailey doesn't exist, Uncle Billy goes into the loony bin, right?
yeah,
So, again, so just even in this universe, whatever, he's got like So whether if we X out the Raven thing because the Raven's in every single Capra film, but the squirrel, they had to have planned that, and like I don't know how
I
hard to train a squirrel, but the squirrel go like climb up on him like that. That had to have been intentional. So.
I imagine some of it was intentional. I think I would say Capra, though, is such like a populist filmmaker. Like he might just have thought that would be funny. Oh, audiences will love this. You're quirky. He's a quirky guy. He loves he's got all these animals. He's got strings on his fingers. Like it was just like a character, like just a character thing, just directly for the audience to find funny and to underline his eccentric nature. So I mean, I think you could read into it and say like, well, say if we're gonna say like he's got a raven and a squirrel, so he brings about bad stuff because he's so incompetent and he's squirrely and he's not. Yeah, he's jittery. He's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, what other?
Oh, because I was just like, how the fuck do you not like remember that you had this newspaper with this dude, like with Mr. Potter? Like, how do you not remember that and go check there? This movie sucks, Paul. I don't buy it.
Yeah, there'll be a couple things, man. I mean, did you know the other pet, the other exotic pet that fuck up Uncle Billy had?
No, what?
You catch you in the frame after you see the squirrel and it pans out, like he's got a parrot in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which parrots after like Mr. Potter.
This guy's a regular Dr. Doolittle.
Or something, or he just has an animal that represents a symbolism of every aspect of his fuck upness that comprises his being.
You like his like the beats of like his character is hidden with like it's symbolized within these animals.
Right.
So if you put them together, it describes him.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Right.
Actually, it's well. Just before we go on, we talked about Jimmy Stewart like having trouble with whether or not he was going to accept the role. The person that actually gets him to do it is Lionel Barrymore, who played Mr. Potter. Because he said to him, he's like, "Hey, listen, what's more noble, like going to war and dropping bombs on people, or bringing light into people's lives? Because that's what actors think, which is true. I agree with that. I think it's a noble profession. I don't know if they should all be millionaires, but like it's a noble profession in a certain respect. There's telling a good story has a lot of cultural value.
It does. Sure does. It's a noble privilege if you are so lucky to get it. So.
Yeah, especially if you're in California, guys. I don't know if you know this. You can't go to restaurants and you can't go to the gym and you can't go to church. You can't go to funerals, but if you're in the movie business, you're open for fucking business, everybody.
That's so lucky.
The class, if you have enough money, guys, the pandemic does not apply to you.
Or if you're the governor too.
Yeah, or if you're a podcaster. Podcasting.
Right, man. This is going to the movies, god damn it.
Well, it's like I was saying, when I saw that Gavin Newsom and Garcetti, the mayor of Los Angeles, was like podcasting is an essential business. I was like, you're right, guy. You're right. It is essential.
But he is not.
Have you ever seen the movie Three Ninjas?
Yeah, like from the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom looks like the bad guy from Three Ninjas. Like with the slick back hair and stuff. Like he just doesn't have the ponytail. But
That
if you
fight
look if you look
trivia.
at a picture, this is why people should follow me on Twitter. If you look a picture side by side, they look exactly the same.
So what you're saying is that we can get a chubby 8-year-old who knows I can do a roundhouse and he can just knock out the governor of California, and then millions of lives that live in that state can go back to okay.
Yeah. Well, with
All
the
right.
help of Grandpa, of course.
Yeah.
But
Let's get a hashtag tag campaign started. Let's make it like
three,
Sawa to get it going.
yeah, exactly. I could contact my good friend Devin Sawa.
Deal.
If you guys would like to know that story, that's in the past. Zoobox Goes to the Movies. I can't remember which one, so you're gonna have to look, which means you're gonna have to listen to more Zoobox Goes to the Movies. What a wonderful story of this time I had interactions with Devin Sawa and the Justice for Johnny Depp people.
Hey, we got a 3-week shutdown coming up, so you get all the Zoobox to your heart's content.
Exactly. We got hundreds of hours of content.
Literally.
Anyways, back to the movie.
Can, can I talk about my problems with the film?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
We gonna about it? Like, is it me or is it like kind of dark as fuck? Well,
it
not
is.
sex,
Paul,
but
I was talking to Paul before I watched this, or before we started recording. I was like, I cannot watch this movie without crying.
hmm,
Like like what you would call technically you would call it being a bitch, but it's because it's me. It's not being a bitch, but I'm just saying, like I can't, dude. I was like thinking about one of the scenes, and I started welling up. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
yeah, no, it's just right there in the feels, man. But here's where I'm going to get like a little bit. Every main character in George's life is selfish
Yeah.
in the film.
Well,
So Mary, let's start with Mary. All right,
oh, I got a
Mary.
theory. I got a theory. I got an alternate theory about Mary, but sure, you go first.
Ooh, I like this. And thank you for letting me go first. Not so much I don't feel like a guest anymore, but thanks for the guest treatment. That's first. But I'll quit while I'm ahead and get going before you take back the proverbial mic. So Mary, she knows he wants to get the fuck out of Bellows Falls. She's a homebody. She wants to stay there and whatnot. And I feel like she sabotages that, and like she gets to fulfill her dream of owning that like rundown house and building it up on 320 Belmont, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that like he wants to get the hell out of there, and and what's even kind of fucked up too is she seems like when they have their like honeymoon night in there, she puts up posters of like all these places that he wanted to be, like holding up like the broken down windows as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, hey, this was a nice thought, but like here we are. And then even like on the scene where there's the run on the run on the bank and they're coming back, like she's like, yeah, don't go in. He goes in there and then she comes up and throws out their $2,000 savings for the honeymoon. Like, hey, how much do you need? Take it. And then, because she never really wanted to leave Bellows Falls. So then she had to go there. It's like,
It's well, it's Bedford Falls, Paul.
huh?
It's
Bedford Falls?
Bedford.
I read Bedford, but right away, right at we went to school at Trinity Falls, which is by Bellows Falls.
That's true.
Anyways. But then even in like in the last chance that poor George actually gets a chance to leave Bedford
Yeah.
Falls, even though it's forbidden, what does she do? She rallies up the whole fucking town to scramble up cash to get them the deferred. So even that way, even
He
by
can't.
tough,
He's not allowed to kill himself. He's not allowed to go to
he can't,
jail.
he can't get out of there. She keeps him confined in there into his own like little personal hell. Clarence, this fucking angel, man, or AS2, angel second class, right?
Yeah, no wings.
Huh? Every single frame that he's in there, he's got to talk about, bitch about his wings.
Well, dude, even listen, the movie literally starts. Well, it starts with people praying for George Bailey, and you find out the context later. But it starts with God and this Joseph, other angel, being like, "Yo, Clarence is a fucking idiot, but
Yeah,
I guess we'll send him down there."
let's get him down there. All right. So, I got a little little bit about that one too, man. But like he was yeah, bitching about his wings. After 5 minutes of being on the job, he's sighing. He's literally sighing about how hard this is going to be after just being down there. Now, take in mind, like the first 90 minutes of the film is just a debrief for Clarence, and we know
Mhm.
this because Joseph and Clarence interject during different parts of movies. Oh, I guess he never leaves, or oh, what? Why are we talking about this, right? So the first 90 minutes, which like you're talking about, like the adaptation of there, they're providing the context leading up to the actual the greatest gift aspect there. But it's just basically like a briefing video for Clarence to go down there to
Yeah.
earn his wings. Excuse me, whatnot. But he's just no. So they send the slow like inept angel to go down there. As soon as he gets down there, he starts bitching about how hard this is going to be, and then constantly talking about how he's going to like get his wings. And and then after like 5 minutes on the job, he already calls in a favor. He's lazy. Clarence is lazy, and like I don't know if it's just like this, the Holly Mark, this hokey stuff. Like, oh, look at this adorable man, Clarence. Oh, he's down there all nice on there. No, man, no. As being a federal employee and stuff I see that shit every day, and I saw that in Clarence. I was like, this is terrible. That
This is
angel,
disgusting.
and he's a selfish piece of shit. So we're talking about Clarence, and then
Well, that's a good point. Like everybody is self-motivated except for George Bailey. George Bailey is the only one that's not self-motivated.
Bailey himself.
No.
George Bailey himself, man. Think about like when you think about the self-inflicted hero complex
Oh my God.
after watching it a couple times. For people listening, I'm doing that like the hands up to Sean. Hey. It's annoying as shit. It's annoying as shit. He could have like made his brother like honor his own fucking word and like like, he's going to come back and like, okay, yeah, your brother didn't even invite you to his own fucking wedding. He didn't even tell you about it. He just shows up. He just shows up for Christmas dinner with a +1 that nobody knew about. I'm just going to come up here and be like, oh, yeah, this is my wife. What? Yeah. And then the wife, I would say, after like, literally like 2 seconds of like meeting his uncle and, brother, like, oh, yeah, he's going to get a job in Buffalo. My dad's going to hire him. He's going to do great things. And he's like, whoa.
Are you
That's a
gonna
good
stay
job.
here in
Oh,
Bedford Falls, you bitch?
oh, huh? Do we really need to correct that? Do we really need the fact
No,
check
no,
that?
no, no, no. I wasn't correcting you. I said, and you get to stay in Bedford Falls, you stupid bitch.
Oh, sorry.
That's what she says to him. That's what she says to George Bailey. She says, you know what?
Basically, yeah.
Hanging out with angels, trying to get rum punch. Okay, Pixie, get out of here.
You're going to get down, man. You're going to get down. And then also, what's not clear to me is like, why did he turn down Sam Wainwright with getting into plastics? All right, you got the infamous call where he goes to meet Mary. Sam calls in and like they're doing this. George gives him that great idea. Don't repurpose this. Go take this other factory that's shut down. That'd be great. And it sets up Sam great. And then they go off on the kissing, and then never find out anything until 40 minutes later when Sam comes back into town.
Well, I have an answer for this.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I have an answer for this.
Oh, okay. And then the last thing that why like George and he turned down Mr. Potter. He turned down what would equivalent today a $250,000 a year salary.
I have an answer for this as well.
Like contract. Okay, I'm okay. On that, and Mr. Potter is the only one that actually knows this motherfucker. He's the only one that knows him. That whole spiel about you're working like for like all these garlic eaters, doing all this stuff like that, like you are like you're the only one that like I'm the only one that hates this place that you work at, the Bill and Loan, more than you do. Like he just laid out like so many truth bombs onto this guy, and then and even like I'll send you up to New York.
Paul, I gotta tell you, this is a very cynical, evil reading of this movie.
But it only gets worse, man, because I feel like we've been duped into thinking that this is a happy movie. I feel like we've been fucking duped. You're a goddamn sucker. That's why when we dial in,
Listen, it's about
leopard print, sweet leopard print, like right now. But I'm going to say, like, this is going to be one of these type of podcasts. It's going to be one of these type of podcasts. This Hallmark fucking.
Well, well. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was bringing on the Grinch. Uh, no, I mean the whole reason that George Bailey feels obligated to keep the building alone open is because it is the only thing that is stopping Mr. Potter from taking control, and that's what you see when he goes into the world without George Bailey. Is that it's called Pottersville? It's become like it's basically become corporatized. Everything's a whorehouse and a movie theater. It loses its quaint small town magic. Everybody lives in a slum. Everybody's on like drunks and on drugs. Even martinis turns into Nick's, and it's like the shady bar. Um, so that's why he does that. He feels obligated. He is, like I said,
Okay.
he's
Okay. Yeah. But
he's a man of integrity. Even though
bull-
even though it causes him great pain.
bullshit.
No,
Potter Potter conceded. Okay. Potter conceded to him, and then he already got that brief prior to getting George Bailey into his office to talk about this. When that other Poindexter that Potter had working for him talking about the astronomical value that's in the Bailey Park that they
Bailey
set up,
Park. Yeah,
like twice as much as what they spent in the loans and the materials to build these homes and whatnot. And then just like realizing like, well, how do I get like? And it's like one of those like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. Like let's like get him on there. He was going to be his number two guy. He was going to have that on there. And then doesn't matter. Is that the like full control way? Like no, he's going to bring him on that way. He's going
no,
to
but
bring him on.
if the building alone stays on its course, even the guy that comes to talk to Mr. Potter, the guy that's like, well, someday I might be asking him for a job
Mm-hmm.
because he's fair. George Bailey is not trying to fuck people. He's not out there to make some exorbitant amount of profit in the same way that Mr. Bailey is. Mr. Bailey is kind of this archetype of the greedy businessman. George Bailey, even though George Bailey knows because he knew this about his own father. This is not good business, but this is good community. And George Bailey is the architect of this community. That's why at the end of the movie, it's so powerful when everybody comes because he has touched all of their lives by being a good and fair man in a way that like they would never do that for somebody like Mr. Potter. Because Mr. Potter gets away with his crimes. I mean, it was actually a controversial thing at the time because they have like these value codes in Hollywood. If you did something like steal $8,000, you're supposed to get like a comeuppance or something, or get kicked in the mud or whatever, and that never happens in this movie.
No, no, he gets away scot free.
He gets away with it. But I would say like in terms of like those few criticisms that you had, I think that misses kind of the heart of George Bailey, and I think what you said is evil, and I bid you a good night. I mean, but that's what's so powerful about it. That's what's so like emotional about it. And like at the end of the movie, when his brother comes up to him, because his brother kind of got to live the life that George Bailey wanted to live.
All-star athlete in college,
This
World War.
adventurous war hero adventure, and when but George Bailey has something that his brother doesn't have. Everybody's kind of envious of George Bailey, but he doesn't know that. Like George Bailey is too hung up on his presupposition of what he thinks like having a good life is, and it's not until this crisis of faith or whatever you want to call it, where he's kind of brought into the fold of his own life, and he realizes what effect he has had. And this is going to get into, because I want to get into some of the subtext of the movie, because some people try to say this is like some weird socialist movie, which I totally disagree with.
But when you brought up the fact that like Trumbo, I can't believe I missed that. Like was part of like a writing thing. You could definitely see like people going like, oh, being anti-capitalist about this movie, like Mr. Potter's this evil capitalist, right? And like which the libertarian in me screams like, well, that's what crony capitalism is. That's not what that's
Exactly.
does represent capitalism. Actually, George Bailey represents capitalism because he's making the.
Well, that's the right answer. It's
Yeah.
about being mutually beneficial. Like if you can mutually benefit your community and still make money, like that's a good thing. That has nothing to do with socialism. Like if you cut poor people a break, it does not make you a socialist. It's such a weird fucking read on the movie. Some people literally watch It's a Wonderful Life and think it's a screed against capitalism. I was like,
Yeah.
no. It's actually about the individual and about individual choices. Like, that's the interesting thing about George Bailey versus Mr. Potter. Is they're kind of like two sides of the same coin. You know, Mr. Potter is just like the greedy version of George Bailey. George Bailey has all this ability and this intelligence and this potential. He could be Mr. Potter. Like you said, he could have taken a job with him. If
Hmm.
he takes a job with him, it's not going to be to the benefit of the people that he knows in the community because he runs this small building and loan business. And he knows these people. He knows their troubles and their strife. And he's not trying to fuck them. And he thinks that's a better way. Or that's like the legacy of his father. Because there's this other aspect of the movie about like what legacy do you actually leave behind in life? All of these things that you do that affect the people in your life that you don't even realize. You don't even realize it. You don't realize like when you talk to somebody maybe that's having a hard time and or whatever and like what they think about that. You just don't. And that's why it's so important to have like your first principles straight, like have a good value system, even though it does not actually work to his. Well, he doesn't feel like it works to his benefit. I mean, the whole movie is setting up this concept that like,
Well,
Jesus Christ.
shutters of this fucking hero complex with Mr. Potter. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, did you even understand what the offer? It's right there in the dialogue. Is oh wait a minute, I don't need 24 hours to think. I have my decision right now. What happens with the building and loan? And he's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you are joining the empire. Like, I
Yeah, but
fucking
why would you
what?
want to?
I don't like that. He goes, I'm not going to beat like you and like take over that. But if I get you on that way, that like that's my like consolation. You
No,
can
no,
see.
no, no. Oh, come on. Mr. Potter is going to fucking
Go ahead.
destroy them. Come on. That's the subtext. And the reason Jimmy Stewart notices that, what reminds him of that, is when he slags off his father again right before he's about to leave. Because the heart and soul of the building and loan is his father's legacy. And then he says something about his dad, which is a mirror to the scene when he runs in.
Legacy tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. All right.
Oh my God. Evil. He's an evil man, everybody. Man, do not trust this person. Do not make
Wow,
business deals with him.
that's part about like revisiting these old movies, right? Because one, two is like they're actual. It's not some like clowny thing. Like there's like something to get out of it, right?
Of
Especially like
course. Yeah.
it was really fun, like to watch this and just like man, like we're talking about like get you right in the feels. Like when he had that breakdown, and just started tearing shit down in the living room, yelled at his wife and kids and stuff like that. I was just like, oh,
Yeah, where's
oh,
this going?
just like, yeah, but just like I think like every man gets to that point where you just like you are caring a lot, and you do this stuff, and then when you have it step and when you have that like
Dude, when
I,
he's okay, during that scene when during the scene where when Jimmy Stewart's having the breakdown in front of his family when he first comes home and he like sits in the chair and his little son like crawls up to him and he's fucking grabs his son and starts crying because he thinks he's about to fucking lose everything. Like he thinks he's
uh-huh,
going to jail. And what's
yeah,
going to happen to all of you? What's going to happen to them? If I
right,
go to jail, what's going to happen to like the weight of the world is coming down on him. Oh my god, like Jimmy Stewart just fucking owns in that last like I I have this like thought like I was like I actually kind of don't like the angel stuff. I
mm,
think you could tell this story and not do that. I think you could have him have some sort of uh my life flashes before my eyes type of moment like if you still wanted to do the alternate universe or you can have some other thing. I think that makes it like that is the part of the movie where I'm like, well, that is corny. And that is kind of like rings a little false
right,
because the movie is so, in my opinion, is so kind of grounded in a real like almost like philosophical truth for most of the movie. And there's so many things that are identifiable. And then once you introduce that, you're like, well, this is a little less relatable. But Jimmy Stewart during like the last third of the movie, like when he goes to Martini's before he goes to the bridge
mm-hmm,
and he fucking starts praying to God. He's like, I'm
mm-hmm.
not a man that usually prays. And then just the fucking in the moment acting thing. You know, it's funny. Like I heard somebody describe what makes a good actor, and I think that scene encapsulated encapsulates it. It's the ability to live in a false moment. You could live in the moment. Like, I believe Jimmy Stewart in that moment. Like, this is like when I watch this Jimmy Stewart performance, I was like, this is one of the greatest of all time screen performances. Like, he is likable. He is, oh, apparently not for this fucker, but
No,
likable. I'm just joking.
me thinking about it. This is me thinking about it.
This is a bad person.
We've been duped. I don't know where you're going with this. Keep going.
No, I'm just saying, like that moment, and there's this movie is full of these fucking moments of like this like reality, this like archetype of like something like I can totally understand. Like, I don't understand the specific circumstances or whatever, but I understand what it feels like to feel that way. Another moment, it makes me really upset. Is the moment with Mr. Goyer, Mr. Goer, H.W. Warner, when he's a little kid, he's working in the pharmacy, and he doesn't bring the pills, and the guy comes back and he's all upset at him. He starts hitting him.
Shit. Yeah, and he says, "Not my sore ear." Oh God.
Dude, not just that, but like, okay, so apparently that's real. That kid really bled from his ear because the dude hit him that hard.
Shit.
The dude was also drunk. Yeah, that's the legend. That's what like that kid, the actor, like told that story like at a panel like years later. Um, but which is like, okay, that's really fucked up. But
The
when
performance, though,
the performance though,
when
it lives forever.
realizes that the kid
Yes,
made judgment decision,
dude,
and
you
it
see
saved.
the look on that dude's face. That was some of the realest shit. I get so choked up when I see that. That to me encapsulates the entire movie. That is George Bailey's effect on everyone. Like, even though he just got the shit kicked, he's getting the shit kicked out of him by this drunk old man who just lost his son. George Bailey is like, as a child, was the bigger person that understood why this man was feeling this way and why he could make this mistake. Like, dude,
Mhm.
that is like such a powerful moment to me. Like when he grabs young George and he's like hugging them and like apologizing and just like, and then they do this great thing in the movie. I actually made a note of it. They do this great thing in the movie just from like a technique perspective. Like, they don't ever go back there with the characters. It's all from across the counter, and then they push in with the camera. So you're like, you don't ever go back behind the counter. So they push in with the camera to give you like this private moment feel. So it feels almost voyeuristic. And it's, I mean, that scene like is the movie to me. That is the character to me, in my opinion. But
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Paul just probably was just like, oh, this is
But,
stupid.
no, I'm saying there's like everything you like, man. I like it as well. I like as much as the next guy on the surface. But I think Capra duped us all. That's all. That's all I think.
But he
That's what I feel about
duped
the
us into
situation. Yeah,
just being like, oh, these are all awful people, and
well, I think all our lives were thinking it's like very much like a Christmas, like Dickens, like a Christmas Carol esque type of thing. So
well, yeah,
instead of
because the end, yeah.
Christmas, but you got the alternate universe and whatnot. When I think about it more, it's more of a Greek tragedy, more akin to like Prometheus type of thing. Where
Dude, if that is, I'm sorry, stop. But if this is your takeaway, then you have missed the point of the movie.
no, I get the point, is what I'm saying. But then I look at it and I think about it, and I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't just like write things off as like hokey 1940s shit and just take the overall message that, because at the end of the day, what are they saying in The Wonderful Life? It could be worse, bro. It could be worse. Fucking, appreciate what you got, power through. They are intangibles in front of you that, mean more than anything that you could accumulate through a good job and salary anywhere in the world. What you have right now is more valuable than what you could ever discover afar in Europe or wherever the other places
No,
that
no,
you.
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no, 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 no.
enlighten me, because I only watched it twice this last week. Said you watched it 3 times.
Well, I watched it 3 times. I even watched it once in color, the colorized version, because I'd never seen that before. So I did. I watched it in 4K, bruh.
Oh, That's why you're picking up points that I'm not picking up.
Okay. Lot here. Lot going on right now.
Tackle.
Um, okay, so your thesis, if I understand it, is that like basically George Bailey is a rube, and the message to the audience is just, hey, accept your circumstances. You can't do better. This is the way it is. Accept your circumstances. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That people should learn to just accept what they have.
I'm saying there's like on the service message of what's happening. I think Capra's like real story of all this is a that of a Greek tragedy. But no, the takeaway from the film is that your life, no matter what like shortcomings you have, is beautiful, and you should appreciate like what you have, and it could
Yeah.
always be worse.
Well, I don't think it's saying it could always be worse. It's like look at the effect, look at the good that you actually put out into the world. Like you may have wanted to go be a great architect. It didn't work out because life just doesn't happen that way. You don't get everything that you want. There's a bittersweetness to this. But that does not make George because George Bailey didn't like achieve the dreams that he had when he was 20 years old. When he made all these assumptions, that's the whole thing with his character. He assumes that is what's going to make him happy, even though he has all of these things, and he literally is building this town in his own image. These people fucking love George Bailey. He doesn't. He's too like lost in his own head to see it. They
Mm.
come and they save him at the end. His brother, the war hero, like the war hero comes home and says, to my brother, the richest man in town. Because he has all of this. He has this entire community of people behind him. Because of the good that he's put out into the world, he's changed all.
Mm.
And that's something like, other people may go do these big grand things, but like George Bailey's effect on the world is tangible. Like he can go out and touch it. He can go out and see it. You can go out to the downtown and see a flourishing downtown. You can go to Bailey Park and see happy families and affordable houses that aren't dumps.
Right.
Like that's the legacy of George Bailey. So I think what you're saying is disgusting. No, but I don't see the tragedy in that. I see like that is like that's a real fucking thing. That's like a real life moment. Like, oh shit. Well, I might not be a rock star, but maybe my life isn't like worth shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying generally. Paul and I had aspirations as young men. But those are things you contend with for so long in your life. Like, in the interim before you come to that point of being like, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is not necessarily what I thought I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But as a more mature person, I actually see the good in like the life I've led and the positive things I've put out into the world. And I think that is the ultimate message of it. Like you have all these assumptions about what it means to live a good life or be successful. What if you already are in a certain respect? And I think that is something, I mean, not everybody is that. I think that's a mistake that the film or some people that read into the film think that's like, oh, this is like this general message about everybody. No, it's about there are people in your life that are just better than you. That are just better than some other people. You're going to meet those real heroes. Like George Bailey is a hero to Bedford Falls. Like he's a hero. He didn't even fucking know it.
Yeah.
But when he needed them, they were there because he had been like this presence and his family had built this reputation. There's a legacy there that he catered to, that he took care of without realizing it. It actually reminds me a lot. Do you know the story of Job?
The story of like the Bible.
Yeah, like the Bible story of Job. The rich
Yeah.
man who God's like, I'm going to test this guy, how much he believes in me. So I'm going to kill his kids. I'm going to kill his wife. I'm going to take all of his fortune away. I'm going to make his crops die. And ha ha ha. Like, but that's very similar to George Bailey's story in the sense that it's like, this is a man that has to confront his own principles. Like, do I do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do? Or do I only do the right thing if it benefits me?
Yeah.
And George Bailey always does the right thing because it's the right thing to do, even though he fucking hates it. And that's a hero to me. Somebody that does the right thing, even though they fucking hate the result of it for themselves personally. That's a good person. I'm sorry you'll never understand that, Grinch, But
Yeah, so you took Job and I took Prometheus, right? So the fire Bedford Falls, right, is freaking the built-in loan, and his ability to provide for everybody, always be the bigger person, and as his perpetual punishment is staying in Bedford Falls or that rock and getting his liver eaten out by all these selfish people. Dude, even with the run on the bank, dude, everyone that came by and they're like, "Oh, I want my money now," and like everyone's just like all like taking up there, and he had to explain to them like, "Listen, you're going to lose 50 cents on the dollar if you go to Potter. Don't you see what's happening here? Here's what you need to do."
yeah,
Well,
that's
and that was
okay.
the resurgence of like what happened there when Mary went around to go rally the troops. They could keep him there to stop him from actually leaving Bedford Falls because
Well,
earlier.
I'll get into the witch thing. She's a witch.
Yeah,
But no, I think but that's a hero moment. He saves those people. Those
dude,
people are about to fucking fuck themselves and lose half of their money
dude,
because out of
the
panic, out of
even the
panic.
angel, dude, is fucking taking advantage of him as well, using him, or like only cares about him about it. And we know this because he literally says it in every sequence he's in the film, like what he's trying to do.
Let me get them
Everybody
wings,
uses
huh? Let me
George
get them
Bailey.
wings.
Everybody uses George Bailey.
No,
Everybody.
everybody. Well, I think saying they use George Bailey is not totally fair because he runs a bank-esque loan business, and that's the relationship we see him have with those people. So he is he does serve them in a certain way.
Yeah.
But
I
that's when there's a run on the bank. Okay,
apology.
okay, hold on, stop.
Ah,
When there's a run on the bank,
first, I have to concede. These are the rules.
when there's the run on the bank, okay, and you're saying like all these selfish people, they all want money. They're all coming in for the one guy is an asshole and says he wants all of his money, and he's like, and that'll close my account. George Billy's like, no, that's a loan. You're still have an account here because he's trying to, he's got to keep his business going. But and everybody else though is like, well, what do you actually need to get by? Okay, $20. The thing that saves everybody is, which is the symbolic moment, is when the woman comes up and says, "I need 1750," because that is exactly what she needs. She's not trying to take advantage. She's not trying to do whatever. She's trying to. That's just what she needs. She's not trying to get more than she feels like she ought to have, or the more than she has in there. Like she believes in George Bailey in that moment.
Yeah.
What?
And he kisses her, and it's a great scene.
Jesus, Mr. Potter. I didn't know I was going to be talking to Mr. Potter.
Dude, speaking of Mr. Potter, there's like a remake in the 70s. I fucking forgot to write this down. But Orson Welles played Mr. Potter.
Was there like a TV version or a radio version?
It was like a TV remake. It was like loosely based off that, and Orson Welles played Mr. Potter,
I
which would
need
have
to,
which would have
yeah,
been awesome.
I need to check that out. Yeah.
It was only aired twice in the 70s. I don't know if it's anyway. I know that bit about it, but I can't tell you what the fuck it was called. God damn.
Well, actually, Lionel Barrymore, the actor who plays Mr. Potter, has a cool history. He used to play Ebenezer Scrooge every year for the radio show.
Yeah,
Because Mr. Potter is basically an Ebenezer Scrooge character before he finds himself, right?
right, right, for sure, man.
Actually, I could see Orson Welles back in the day doing I could see him doing a George Bailey.
Well, 77. He died in 85, so 77. He would have been about like George
No,
Potter, like
no,
age.
yeah, no. I'm saying say in 1946, Frank Capra for some reason cast Orson Welles as George Bailey. I think he could have sold it. I think he could have done it.
Yeah. Well, Orson Welles can do whatever. He could have done it all.
Whatever he goddamn well pleases. I mean,
You could take John Wayne out of every Western, put Orson Welles in there.
well, I don't know. I don't know about that, but
Well, maybe The Quiet Man.
oh no, I think he could do the Quiet Man. I don't know if he could do the Searchers. Because the
Hmm.
Searchers, I don't know if you've ever seen the Searchers, 1956, the Searchers, the best John Wayne movie, bar none, by far, well worth your time. It
Searchers?
is, yeah, it's basically a period on that the Western genre for that era. It's a very thoughtful and deep movie, and John Wayne plays a very interesting character. It's very dark. Um, but it only really works so well because there's a meta understanding of who John Wayne is as a movie star, and then when you see him play the character he plays, like he brings all this weight with it, which makes it way more impactful. But yeah, The Searchers is awesome. If you've never seen The Searchers, that's like grab a glass of whiskey, like sit down, get ready for 2 hours and 20 minutes, sit and watch like an old school western that is way deeper and way more interesting than 90% of the westerns of the time. You know.
I'll have to give it that a shot, man. Thanks for that recommendation.
Hell yeah! Actually, I did a review for it, like in April, I think.
Did you really?
Yeah, well, just just one of the quick, like 20-minute reviews or whatever.
Nice. Yeah, but what got me thinking about the Greek mythology shit was just the very beginning, where actually I forgot to write down, but the galaxy that they're showing to represent the angels speaking or the gods or whatever speaking, and they're talking about it, and it's just like, what did you infer from that quick dialogue in there? You actually inferred you can like include a lot. That there is a power structure up there. That
Mm-hmm.
there's little rumors. Oh, the other angels have been talking. I've been here for 250 years. I don't have my wings yet. And
Yeah,
there's
it is. Yeah, it's very Greek. It is very Greek.
there's like judgmental, like snobby, like shit. Because right before they cue in Clarence, like we said this earlier at the beginning of the this bit, but like oh yeah, that Clarence, yeah, he's kind of slow, but maybe just give him a chance. So it's even showing you like what these people like care about, like how they're responding to like an inquiry up here. Yeah, but this George, this George Bailey thing's been blown up all night. Fuck, let's throw the retard angel there. Let's throw the slow angel there. It's just like it was like.
No, seriously. When I was watching it, I was like, "This is really funny," because they're like, "Man, Clarence is a kind of a fucking idiot," but
Yeah, exactly.
I guess he needs his wings.
Right. But like that whole attitude, thinking of them as like gods or angels or like it's just like Greek mythology. Like that's
No,
just what thinking
no,
about
it's
that. All the gods were like Greek mythology were just more powerful pieces of shit than the pieces of shit that they created.
well,
Right.
it's because it's a I don't know if you know this. Frank Capra, deeply Catholic, but yes, I think the Greek thing.
Theaters are.
Yes, but I think the Greek thing though is apt. I think is accurate, but I think it's for the same reasons they did that back in the day. Is that anthropomorphizing the idea of God and angels just makes it easier for audiences to understand, and Capra, being the populist that he is trying to just make it a relatable, funny moment. Like he doesn't want anything too abstract. I actually, if there is one thing that I like about the angel God stuff, is the fact that like they don't ever visualize it, that it is just like these stars in the sky. I was like, okay, cool. We didn't go to this cheesy sequence where like God is like looking down at a pool or something, talking to somebody.
Books of like, who can we put it here? All right, use Clarence.
Yeah, I like that it's like short and sweet. Because I really, the like having seen the movie before, the opening moments of the movie are like very powerful. Like the whole town is praying for the safety of George Bailey. It's like it is the foreshadowing of the end of the movie,
Hmm.
and you don't know what you're seeing in context unless you've seen it before.
Right.
So it was kind of cool, like rewatching. You're like, oh shit! Like this movie actually starts on this very like hopeful note.
Yeah. Yeah. Side note on you, good buddy.
Okay.
Clarence, lazy inept fucking angel that knows what a mule wine is apparently, but doesn't drink it. Yeah, as a subtle like fuck you to George Bailey after finally getting his fucking wings and his bitch him out ever since he was introduced to us. What's he do? What's he do at the end when everyone's handing him money, right? He gives him his copy of Tom Sawyer. Like it sounds like, hey, thanks for the wings. It's like a subtle fuck you. Hey, here's to continue reading about other people's adventures and places that you'll never go to. Enjoy my copy of this book.
Jesus Christ, this is a cynical man. This is a cynical, evil man.
Why did he give him Tom Sawyer? Why did he give him that fucking book?
Because he's carrying the book with him when he jumps in the water, and I think you're probably right about the sense of like life is an adventure. Like that's kind of the subtext of Tom Sawyer. But he also says like a man who has friends is not poor. A man who has friends is fine. A man who has community is fine. Just saying. He doesn't
says,
just say like thanks for the wings, fucker.
yeah.
He doesn't just say thanks for the wings, fucker. See ya. No, he says like thanks for the wings. And also, a man who has friends is never poor.
Mm-hmm.
See, Paul, he's like Project Veritas. He's like over here selectively editing clips. I don't know.
I'm just saying that the message is in the medium and a lot of time. And Clarence, you know, he could have upped the game a little bit better. He could have upped the game a little bit better. All things considered, it's not like he just literally watched George Bailey's entire life before him up until he came in to interject to stop him from committing suicide, right? Maybe he could have been a little more sensitive, but he didn't. I don't know.
It's called tough love. It's called tough love. Okay, so I've teased this a few times. Yeah, Mary is a witch.
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so when they meet the first time as children, okay, there's some sort of like she whispers into his dead ear.
Was that the spell?
Yeah, well that's where it starts, Paul. And then there's the blood sacrifice when he gets smacked around. Okay, and she witnesses that. She's the only person there. An hour later, for some reason, she's still there.
Was at the death. She was at the bar there when
Yeah,
that happened.
still after he leaves and comes back. Okay, and then they meet later. Okay, which this is the funniest thing about the movie. George Bailey steals Mary from two different men. When he goes to the dance, he steals her from Alfalfa from the Little Rascals.
Yep.
That's actually who that actor is. And then again, when he goes to her house, she's with Sam Wainwright.
Yeah.
Which I love that they have to do a cutaway to Sam for just like 10 seconds to show that he's cheating on Mary. So it makes it okay that George is stealing her.
Well, it's that Rookie 40 shit. So.
No, they had to. It was like a code thing. It was like a values code thing.
Right.
Like he couldn't just go in and steal her. He just couldn't do that. But, and then after that night though, he lassos the moon. Talking about the moon, they're lassoing the moon. They're talking about being in love. They go to the house that they're gonna buy. They start making wishes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think she wished for, Paul?
She wished to keep him in his own private Idaho, his own eternal hell.
Yeah.
Into that freaking dungeon, 320 Belmont. And
So this is what when what you're reading comes into play, because later in the movie, she's always keeping him in step. Like you said, she's like, "Here's our vacation money. We're gonna host a party at our house, and I'm gonna keep you here even more."
go shave. I don't want to see family.
Shit. He just fucking Crip walks out of there. Goes to the bar like a real man.
Yeah, well, that bar scene when we were talking about, like when he's like, God, I'm not a praying man, but even that part like leading up before he even talks to was just like so great.
Yes.
It was just like fucking.
Listen. Every person has been there.
Yeah.
It does not need to be this extreme or to be those exact circumstances, but holy shit, that moment and Jimmy Stewart, just with those like fucking couple tears that are coming out of his eyes, like it's just a few. He's not overdoing it.
Yeah.
He's not overselling it at all, and he's just like in the moment. You're like, that feels like a real moment. Like that feels like a real fucking thing, and we've all experienced that.
Yeah. And he had another good one when he was going in right before he loses it in front of his family, where he's going up to see his daughter Zuzu, and he pulls off the knob off the stairwell. He's like, oh. And all he wants to do is just chuck it as hard as he can across the fucking room. It was just like
he actually goes to do that, right? Like he makes the gesture. He's like, ugh!
And then puts it back and then goes up the stairs.
Oh,
it's just, there's more build up to that scene. If you think about it, like with that example of the knob going up there too, but just like leading up to it, like when you see Sam Wainwright, actually I think the first time after they gave the Martini family like their home, they come and say like, hey, why don't you come with us down into Florida and whatnot? Oh, I gotta do this. Still got the nose to the old groundstone. Oh, okay, leave, and then they take off, and then it's just not. Then it's immediately like a sober, somber moment, or like right after Sam Wainwright and that blonde chick leave, and then leaves, and then
because Yeah, but that's the whole, like, to me, that's the whole point. Like, we do not respect the people that stay behind and maintain.
Hmm.
There are people that get to go out and be successful like Sam Wainwright or be war heroes like his brother Harry. But has to stay? The people that have to stay, whether it's through obligation or whatever. Like that's another moment where you're just like you understand like and nobody respects it at first. Everybody thinks it's like, oh, it's all just old mossback George.
Hmm.
Fucking staying in Bedford Falls. Oh shit.
Yeah, man.
But he's keeping this guy's hometown vital. And he's also inviting business into the town by when he says to Sam Wainwright, like that's like it's so weird. Like that's like in the subconscious level for George, like that's his priority. Like he's there to like woo Mary, and he's there to do whatever he's gonna do. But then he's like, oh, why don't you buy this property? Like to me, that's not like being a sucker. That's like he's like, no, like this is like let's make this place better. There's an
Hmm.
opportunity here, benefit you, benefit the people here.
Hometown vote.
Because
Hometown.
that's the whole thing. Okay. Do you think this movie is like socialist?
No,
Okay, because I
not,
don't either.
not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Do you?
No, I don't at all. No, I was because I went out and I was just like,
But
what,
I think exemplifies like what you do as a free person and like with your free will and with your own resources,
and the
which
cost of that, right?
right, and the costs that can come with it. And granted that liberty always will have an ugly side of things to it, but at the end of the day, it's those untangibles that you like, that you get to cherish forever that make you the richest person in town. I think that's like the big like thing about it. So
Yeah.
like any type of like well, this is some type of like social. That's just ridiculous in my
No,
opinion.
I do too because they're like, oh, this is an angry screed against capitalism, and I echo your sentiments earlier where you go into libertarian guy mode. You're like, no, Mr. Potter's not a capitalist; he's a crony capitalist. Like,
Yeah,
but
he's
that's
got congressmen calling him, and no, that's cronyism. That's crony.
no, but that is true though, and that is oftentimes what people are facing, especially when they're kind of like small business owners and stuff. And we live in a time period where that has never been more apparent. Never been more apparent. The
Mhm.
George, we could use some fucking George Baileys right now.
Sure
Um,
can.
George Bailey would just get fucking stomped on. Either way, I think right now we live in a time where it's just very illustrative that like, oh, okay, this really is this really is crony capitalism. This is really fucked. Um, and I think the movie ultimately kind of just has that kind of message to it. It's about like the power of your individual choice. You can make choices that are like bad for you but good for other people, but you still have to make that choice. I don't feel like that's like this oh, it's about the good of the collective rather than the few. Like I don't view it that way. I think like if you're just a righteous person, if you're just a person who has a value or a value system, like that'll lead you to those decisions. And I think
Right.
George Bailey is led by those things rather than this kind of pedantic view on like culture and society and community. I don't think that's like where they're coming from with It's a Wonderful Life at all. And when people are like, "Oh, this is obviously a screed against this is anti-capitalist screed. He wants to be a socialist. He wants to look how he describes how his business works with the building alone. Like everybody's money is tied up in everybody else's house because they're all helping each other. Like that's not the point of that. That's not what they're trying to get at.
Mhm.
They are saying that when you do good things, there are mutual benefits to everybody, and we should all, as a community, come together to fight for what we have.
Right.
And it's on us to do that. It's not about this like it's more socialist in my perspective to go with like Mr. Potter. Because then you're asking like daddy government, daddy corporate man, come take
Mm.
care of me, come fucking give me what I need, tell me how I'm supposed to live. If
Yeah.
you go with building a loan, that's your own path.
Yeah.
And you're lucky to have a guy that's fair that you're working with.
And and who can encapsulate that whole sentiment better than Mr. Martini himself? Ha ha! Did you hear him say that? Rent? No, I own this place.
Mhm.
Right? So I mean, that's
Which is another great moment in the movie that's very subtle because it doesn't really draw your attention to what the fuck is happening. It's like, oh, they
mhm,
get to move out of the dump and they get to go to Bailey Park.
mhm.
They don't really spell that out for you. They
No,
respect you enough. Like, are you paying attention?
it's fair. Mm. But yeah, but no, man, it's just great performances. Just like anything of time period when I have that like that hokey shit, but like overall, like watching it again as an adult, having some road under my legs now at this time of my life, and just like it hits you right in the feels, and really powerful film, and it's like still relevant. And then if anyone still like thinks of it or looks at it as some type of like some type of Hallmark-esque type of thing you have in the background that comes out every holiday, that's unfortunate. Take the time, sit down, and watch it. Watch it straight through. It's
100%. I think
great.
a lot. I think a lot of people have this kind of fallacious notion that like old movies are antiques. You're like, oh yeah, it's a classic, and we put it up on a shelf, and we don't really engage with it. I've
Mhm.
said this for a long time about Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane, the worst thing that ever happened to Citizen Kane was being like called the best movie ever made because it stops people from like actually watching it as like a vital piece of filmmaking and really respecting it for its legacy and like what it actually accomplished, how far ahead of the time it was. And I think It's a Wonderful Life often gets the same rap because this movie is like what I love about like good stories are good stories forever. Doesn't matter. Just doesn't fucking matter. A good movie is a good movie forever if you're willing to have patience to give it, the time that you need to take to interact with it. Because, filmmaking has changed. It certainly has. But something like It's a Wonderful Life, I think played very almost like feels more modern than a lot of movies at the time. And I think that's like really what like some of the classics that have like kind of lived through the eras and that keep coming back up in conversation are movies that do feel ahead of its time. Oftentimes they were failures when they came out. Citizen Kane was not the biggest movie in the world. It's a
No.
Wonderful Life was a flop.
Yeah,
The Searchers was like not a huge movie when it came out. Which is another movie. It's like that's vital cinema. Like it's your look. You get to have a kind of the slice of history, but also it has like these really interesting philosophical truths, and that's the best thing about I think a good storytelling is good philosophy. It's teaching you these lessons without making you read a book, without making you read Kant or Nietzsche or whatever. You don't have to. It's a way to like kind of give those messages to the masses and it's
sure.
when it's done well. When it's done well, it's not
Right.
always done well, but
So, in the spirit of Christmas in this month of December, you going to have the Grinch back again for Miracle on 34th Street, or are you all done, good buddy?
oh no, listen, the Grinch can come back whenever he pleases. I will talk to the Grinch after this about what we do next. I don't know. Eyes Wide Shut technically takes place on Christmas. I'm just,
Shit.
but that
Yeah.
might be a little. I don't want to know if I want to bring that darkness to your house on Christmas.
Yeah. What's the?
Hey Vanessa, you want to watch a movie?
Yeah, yeah. Get on.
Actually, I heard like you had said that. Okay, so this would be a good way to close it out. You said that your wife had not really ever sat down and watched it. What did she think about the movie?
Oh, similar experience. She loved it, and we got it right in the feels.
No, was she crying? Did she
Yeah.
cry?
Yeah.
Good. She's a human then.
No, even the bits that I wrote to like try match you, I was running by her earlier today, and she got all fired up with me. So, oh, yeah, yeah.
Dude, it's weird. Like you get really defensive about George Bailey. Like you're just like, no, fuck this guy. This guy's a piece. Don't listen to him.
Yeah. That she did. She got all fired up about it. Like, oh, the score work didn't get on trial.
Yes, that's this is like the greatest secret of everybody's lives that Vanessa and I are actually very similar. And Paul married me. What a gross fuck. Um, Not really. I mean, we're similar in certain ways, temperament ways, maybe. Um, don't ever listen to this, Vanessa. Just stop. Um, no, but I really, I think oftentimes it's overlooked because people just assume it's a classic. They assume it's like this great Christmas movie. But when you watch it, like it is so vibrant, it's so prescient, it feels so immediate. And I don't know if that's just because of our age or whatever. But like I said, like I'm not even shitting you guys. I'm not trying to put on a face or whatever. Like I was watching this. I finished my third watch through like 20 minutes before we started doing this. I started crying at the end. I was
Yeah,
outside on my patio with my laptop, smoking a cigarette, taking notes, and drinking a cup of coffee, and I started blubbering.
yeah,
Like I said, it's not no bitch move because I did it.
right.
But anyways, but like it's a powerful film, and I think a lot of people overlook that. I just because they just look at it like it's an antique, and it really needs to be rediscovered, not by gross millennials who have weird opinions. But like, this is not a Christmas romp. What's going
Yeah,
on?
yeah. No, definitely give it a proper rewatch. Definitely give it a proper rewatch. It's great. It is definitely great.
And all the people we didn't mention, like Donna Reed as Mary the Witch. She's great. Great characterization. Great, like actually kind of ahead of its time in terms of just like a kind of, if you want to say, female representation. She is like kind of a strong woman, like, and a good counterpart to Jimmy Stewart, I think. Um, but yeah, great stuff. Good stuff. Well, thank you, Big Paul.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you coming.
And once we get off, we'll maybe talk about if we will do one more Christmas movie this year, and or is actually as many as you want. If you want to do one every week until Christmas, we can do that. Um, except for next week because I got to go to a wedding. Womp womp.
Who the fuck is married in December, man?
During a pandemic too.
I'm
Disgusting.
not responsible.
Anyways, okay, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, there's a bunch of links in the description for Facebook, for Instagram, for my Twitter, for my brother Dan's Twitter. Also, subscribe to our Twitch channel. I put the Twitch channel in there recently. We're going to do some movie watch-alongs, which you can do if you have Amazon Prime. You can do like movie watch-alongs on Twitch. So with Amazon Prime movies. So we might do that randomly. So make sure to go get subbed or follow, whatever they call it over there. Also, if you'd like to see something specific for the semi-daily movie reviews or the Zoobox Goes to the Movies, you'd like to hear what Big Paul has to say, what evil thing he has to say about some movie you love, leave it in the comments and we'll put it on the list. All right, thanks, Paul.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good night.
All right. Good night. Goodbye. Hello.